The wind howled across the frozen surface of Kythera 7, carrying ice crystals that could cut through unprotected skin in seconds. Lee Taman pulled his thermal suit tighter as he checked the scanner readings one more time. 8 months on this frozen moon, and he still wasn't used to the cold that went straight through to his bones. Anything interesting down there? Park So-ra's voice crackled through his helmet radio. The xenobiologist was waiting by the mining platform, her breath visible even through her suit's heating system. Tae-min looked at the cave entrance they had discovered that morning. His scanner showed unusual mineral formations deep underground, unlike anything they had found before. The readings are strange. These crystals seem to be giving off their own energy. Commander Kim Woo-jin walked over, his heavy boots crunching on the ice. How long for a preliminary survey? Maybe 2 hours, Taemin replied. The cave system is bigger than we thought. Woo-jin nodded. Take Sora with you. I want a full biological scan of anything you find down there. And stay on the radio. The cave entrance was narrow, forcing them to crawl through on their hands and knees. Taemin's headlamp cut through the darkness, revealing walls covered in a thin layer of ice. But as they went deeper, the walls began to change. What looked like rock was actually some kind of crystal formation. These aren't normal minerals, Sora said, running her scanner over the wall. The internal structure is too organized. Almost like what? Like cells. Biological cells, but made of crystal. They entered a large chamber and both of them stopped and stared. The walls were covered in formations that looked like frozen lightning, all leading to a central pillar that rose from floor to ceiling. The entire chamber glowed with a soft blue light that seemed to pulse like a heartbeat. Are you getting this on the scanner? Taemin asked. Sora was already taking readings. The energy output is incredible. But it's not radiation or heat. It's something else entirely. Taemin walked closer to the central pillar. The crystal was beautiful, clear as glass but with veins of light running through it like blood vessels. Without thinking, he reached out and touched it. The world exploded in his mind. Images flashed through his consciousness. A world covered in ice. Beings of light moving through crystal cities. A voice speaking in perfect Korean, filled with loneliness and desperate need. Please, the voice whispered. So cold, so alone. Need warmth. Need life. Taemin jerked his hand back, gasping. Sora grabbed his arm. What happened? You went completely still for 30 seconds. I heard something. Someone. Taemin looked at the crystal pillar. It was still glowing, but now it seemed brighter. There's something alive in there. They spent the next hour taking detailed scans, but found nothing that explained what Taemin had experienced. The crystals were definitely unusual, but all their tests showed they were just minerals. Strange minerals, but not alive. Back at Prometheus Station, Taemin couldn't stop thinking about the voice. During dinner, he found himself staring at nothing, remembering the overwhelming sense of loneliness he had felt. Sora noticed his distraction. You're still thinking about the cave, she said. The voice was so clear. It spoke Korean. Perfect Korean. Maybe it was just neural feedback from the crystal's energy field. Sometimes electromagnetic fields can cause hallucinations. Taemin wanted to believe that, but something told him it was more than a hallucination. The desperation in that voice had been too real. That night he woke up feeling cold. Colder than usual, even with the station's heating system running. He checked the environmental controls, but everything was normal. As he turned back to his bunk, he saw her. A figure made of soft light stood at the foot of his bed. She looked human, but her skin glowed with the same blue light as the crystals. Her face was beautiful but sad, with eyes that held centuries of loneliness. Please, she whispered in Korean. I need warmth. Your warmth. Before Taemin could react, she moved toward him like flowing water. Her cold form slipped into his bedroll beside him, and immediately he felt the terrible cold that surrounded her. It was beyond physical cold. It was the cold of death, of emptiness, of being alone for so long that warmth had become a forgotten dream. Who are you? He whispered. Nira, she replied, pressing closer to him. Last of my kind. Alone for so long. Your warmth, it makes me remember what it was like to live. Taemin wanted to move away, but something in her voice stopped him. This being wasn't trying to hurt him. She was dying, slowly freezing even though she was made of light. His body heat seemed to make her glow brighter. What happened to your people? The cold came. Great cold from space. We tried to save ourselves in the crystals, but one by one they went dark. Now only I remain, and I am fading too. Why can I see you when others can't? Your kind. You burn bright. brighter than any life we knew before. Your warmth can reach us even in the crystal sleep. They lay there in silence for a while. Taman could feel her growing warmer against him, and her glow became steadier. But as soon as he started to fall asleep, she began to fade. "I must go," she whispered. "Dawn comes and I cannot hold this form in the light. Will you come back? If you will have me. I have been alone for so long." She faded away like mist, leaving only the memory of her cold touch and the echo of her voice. Taman lay awake until morning, wondering if he had dreamed it all. But when he checked his thermal readings, his bedroll had been 10 degrees colder than normal during the night. At breakfast, he said nothing to the others. How could he explain that an alien ghost had spent the night in his bed seeking warmth? They would think the isolation was getting to him, but as he worked that day, he found himself looking forward to nightfall. Nira had been alone for centuries, maybe longer. The least he could do was share his warmth with her. That night she came again, and the night after that. Each time she stayed a little longer, glowed a little brighter. And each time, Taman felt less like he was helping a dying alien and more like he was discovering something that would change everything he thought he knew about life in the universe. After a week of nightly visits from Nira, Taman started to notice changes in himself. He needed less sleep, felt stronger in the cold, and found himself understanding the moon's geological patterns in ways that didn't make sense. When Sora asked him how he knew where to dig for the best mineral deposits, he couldn't explain it. He just knew. "You look different," Sora said during their morning briefing. "Healthier somehow." Timon caught his reflection in the station window. She was right. His skin had a slight glow to it and his eyes seemed brighter. "I've been sleeping better. In this cold? That's unusual." Sora made a note on her tablet. "Have you been taking any supplements?" Before Taman could answer, Chief Security Officer Yoon Hyun-woo entered the briefing room. His face was serious as always, but today he seemed more worried than usual. "We need to talk about the energy readings from the cave system," Hyun-woo said. "They're getting stronger every night." Commander Woo Jin looked up from his reports. "How much stronger?" 30% increase over the past week. "Whatever's down there is becoming more active." Taman felt his stomach tighten. The timing matched perfectly with Nira's visits. He tried to keep his expression neutral, but Sora was watching him carefully. Later that day, head scientist Choi Da-eun called a meeting with the senior staff. She was a thin woman with sharp eyes who missed nothing. Her reputation for solving impossible problems had earned her a place on the expedition. "I've been analyzing the data from the crystal formations," Da-eun began, pulling up holographic displays. "The energy patterns are unlike anything in our databases. But there are similarities to certain types of parasitic organisms." "Parasitic how?" Woo Jin asked. "The energy output suggests something that feeds on life force. The patterns match what we see in organisms that drain energy from their hosts." Da-eun looked around the room. "If there's something alive in those crystals, it might be trying to establish contact with our crew." Hyun-woo leaned forward. "Are we in danger?" "Unknown. But if my theory is correct, prolonged contact could be fatal to whoever it chooses as a host." Taman felt cold sweat on his forehead. What kind of contact are we talking about? Probably telepathic at first, then possibly physical manifestation as it grows stronger. Da-eun pulled up more data. The energy patterns suggest it would need to be close to its host regularly, maybe even during sleep when the mind is most vulnerable. Sora was staring at Taemin now. He could see the pieces clicking together in her mind. "Taemin, have you experienced anything unusual lately? Dreams, visions, anything like that?" All eyes turned to him. Taemin felt trapped. If he told them about Nira, they would lock him up or evacuate the station. But if Da-eun was right, he might be in real danger. "I've had some strange dreams," he said finally. "Nothing serious. On what kind of dreams?" Tae-yun asked, her voice sharp. "Just voices, speaking Korean, probably just stress from the isolation." Hyun-woo stood up. "That settles it. We evacuate immediately. If this thing is targeting our people—" "Wait," Sora interrupted. "Look at the medical readings." She pulled up Taemin's health data on her tablet. His vitals have improved across the board. Heart rate, blood pressure, immune system markers. Whatever's happening, it doesn't seem to be harming him. "That could be part of the parasitic process," Da-eun warned. "Many parasites make their hosts feel better initially, then drain them slowly." Commander Woo Jin studied the data. "Taemin, I'm ordering you to report any further contact immediately. And I want daily medical checks. That night, Taimin waited for Nira with mixed feelings. When she appeared in his room, glowing softly in the darkness, he could see she was stronger than before. Her form was more solid, more real. "You seem troubled," she said as she slipped into his bedroll. "My people think you're dangerous. They think you're feeding on me." Nira was quiet for a long moment. "In a way, they are right. I do take from you. But I also give. What do you give? Knowledge, strength, understanding of this world that your people cannot gain on their own." She pressed closer to him, and he felt the usual cold that gradually warmed. "My people were great builders, shapers of worlds. That knowledge flows through me to you. Is that why I know things I shouldn't know? Why I can find minerals without trying? Yes, we are becoming connected, you and I. But not as parasite and host. As partners." The next morning brought crisis. A massive ice storm was approaching the station, bigger than anything they had seen before. The weather satellites showed winds that could tear apart their buildings and temperatures that would freeze their power systems. "We have 6 hours to evacuate," Wu Jin announced. "Pack only essential equipment." But as they prepared to leave, Taimin felt something in his mind. Knowledge that wasn't his own, images of the cave system, passages he had never seen, paths that led deep underground where the storm couldn't reach them. "Wait," he said. "I know where we can go." "The evacuation ship is already on its way," Yunwu said. "The ship won't make it through this storm." "But there are caves below the station. Deep caves that connect to the crystal chambers. We can wait out the storm there." "How do you know about these caves?" Tun asked suspiciously. Taimin hesitated. "I've been studying the geological surveys. The patterns suggest a whole network of tunnels." It was partly true, but he knew his real knowledge came from Nira. Through their connection, he could see the cave system as clearly as if he had mapped it himself. The storm hit faster than predicted. Within 2 hours, the evacuation ship was forced to turn back. The station's power started failing as ice built up on the solar collectors. They had no choice but to follow Taimin's guidance. He led them through passages that didn't appear on any of their maps, deeper into the moon than humans had ever gone. The caves were warm compared to the surface, heated by geothermal vents that Taimin somehow knew would be there. They emerged in a vast chamber filled with crystal formations, all glowing with soft light. The chamber was large enough for their entire group and warm enough that they could remove their heavy coats. "How did you know this was here?" Sora asked in amazement. Taimin looked around at the glowing crystals, feeling Nira's presence in all of them. Lucky guess, but he could see that Sora didn't believe him. Neither did Da-un or Hyunwoo. They were starting to understand that something was happening to him, something beyond their experience. As they set up camp in the crystal chamber, Taimin realized that everything was about to change. His connection with Nira was growing stronger, and soon it would be impossible to hide. His people would have to face the truth about what they had found on this frozen moon, and whether they accepted it or not, Taimin knew there was no going back. He and Nira were bound together now, and that bond would shape the future of both their species. The storm raged above ground for 3 days. During that time, the crew made an incredible discovery. Geologist Jang Min-ho had been studying the crystal formations in their shelter, and what he found changed everything they thought they knew about the moon. "These aren't crystals at all," Min-ho announced during their second day underground. "They're fossilized neural networks." Communications specialist Hanbo Young looked up from her equipment. "What does that mean?" "It means these formations are actually the preserved brains of an entire civilization," Min-ho explained, his voice filled with excitement and fear. "Each crystal contains billions of neural pathways perfectly preserved." Sora examined Min-ho's data on her tablet. "You're saying this entire cave system is actually a vast alien brain?" "Not one brain. Thousands of them, all connected." Min-ho pointed to the glowing veins that ran between the crystal formations. "These connections link all the crystals together into one massive network." Taimin felt a chill that had nothing to do with the cold. Through his connection with Nira, he could sense the truth in Min-ho's words. The crystals weren't just preserving individual minds, they were preserving an entire species. That night when Nira appeared to him, Taimin confronted her about what they had learned. "You're not just one person," he said. "You're all of them." Nira's glow dimmed slightly. "Yes and no. I am what remains of my people, but I am also myself. When the great cold came, We tried to save ourselves by transferring our consciousness into the crystal matrix. Most of us succeeded, but over time, many of the crystals went dark. I am the last active consciousness, but I carry the memories of all who came before. How many? Millions. We were a great civilization once. We shaped worlds, turned dead planets into gardens of life. But when our sun began to die, we could not escape in time. Taemin struggled to understand the scale of what she was telling him. Why did you choose me? Your species produces a unique bioelectric field. It resonates with our crystal matrix in a way that allows true communication. We had given up hope of ever making contact with another intelligent species. Then your people came, and I felt your warmth across the void. The next day brought new complications. Bo Young had been monitoring space communications when she picked up something that made everyone's blood run cold. We're getting signals from deep space, she announced. Multiple ships coming this way fast. Commander Wu Jin gathered everyone around her equipment. How many ships? At least 3 separate fleets. Different technologies, different origins, and they're all heading for this system. Why? Hyun Woo asked. This is an empty system. Nothing here but ice and rocks. Bo Young looked at her readouts. The signal started when the crystal energy output increased. Whatever's happening down here, it's sending out some kind of beacon. Taemin felt his heart sink. His connection with Nira was growing stronger every day, and apparently that was creating energy signatures that could be detected across space. They had accidentally announced their discovery to the entire galaxy. That night, Nira confirmed his fears. The awakening of the crystal network creates ripples in subspace, she explained. Any species with advanced sensors would be able to detect it. What do they want? The same thing beings have always wanted. Power. My people's knowledge of terraforming is beyond anything that exists in this galaxy today. We could turn dead worlds into paradises, create life where none existed before. That sounds like a good thing. Nira's expression grew sad. It would be if those coming seek to use the knowledge wisely. But I sense their intentions through the subspace echoes of their ships. Some come to steal the knowledge. Others come to destroy it to prevent their enemies from having it. And some come simply to harvest the crystals for their energy. Over the next 2 days, as the storm finally began to clear, more details emerged about the approaching fleets. Bo Young had managed to decode some of their transmissions. 3 main groups, she reported. Something called the Hegemony, which seems to be a military alliance. The trader guilds, who appear to be some kind of commercial federation. And something that just calls itself the Architects. What do they want? Wu Jin asked. All the transmissions mention the crystal formations. They know what's down here. Taemin realized he had to make a choice. His connection with Nira was creating the energy signatures that were drawing these fleets to their location. He could break the connection, which might hide the crystals but would leave Nira to fade back into the cold darkness. Or he could strengthen it, which might give them a chance to defend themselves but would definitely alert every hostile force in the galaxy to their location. That night, he discussed it with Nira. There is a third option, she said. The crystal network is not just a repository of memories. It was designed as a planetary defense system. If enough crystals can be awakened, they can protect this world. How many is enough? Thousands. Across the entire moon, but it would require a deep connection, deeper than what we have now. You would have to join with not just me, but with the network itself. What would that do to me? I do not know. No organic being has ever attempted such a connection. You might remain yourself or you might become something new, something between your species and mine. Taemin thought about his crewmates sleeping nearby, trusting him to help keep them safe. He thought about the hostile fleets approaching, seeking to steal or destroy the knowledge that could help countless worlds. And he thought about Nira, alone for so long, finally finding someone who could ease her loneliness. If I do this, will it hurt you? No, if anything, it will make me stronger. But Taemin, you must understand. Once you join with the network, there will be no going back. You will see through the eyes of an entire civilization. You will carry their memories, their knowledge, their hopes and fears. It will change you forever. Will I still be me? I believe so. But you will be more than just yourself. The next morning, the first alien ships entered the system. Bo Young tracked them on her screens as they took positions around the moon. Soon they would make contact. And then humanity would have to face the choice of surrendering the crystals or fighting forces beyond their understanding. Taemin looked at his crewmates, people who had trusted him to guide them through the caves, who were counting on him to help them survive whatever was coming. He thought about the vast knowledge contained in the crystal network, information that could help humanity spread across the galaxy and bring life to dead worlds. Most of all, he thought about Nira, waiting in the crystals for his decision. She had been alone for so long, and through their connection he had felt the depth of that loneliness. How could he abandon her now, when hostile forces were coming to steal or destroy everything she represented? That night when Nira came to him, Taemin was ready with his answer. The first contact came at dawn. 3 massive ships appeared in the sky above Prometheus Station, each one representing a different alien civilization. Commander Wu Jin received the transmission as his crew watched from the rebuilt station. Humans of Kythera 7. The voice was translated by their computers, but the mechanical tone couldn't hide the arrogance behind it. I am Velthar of the Hegemony. You will surrender the crystal formations and evacuate this system immediately. A second voice followed, smoother but equally demanding. This is Kess of the Trader Guilds. We claim salvage rights to all crystal formations on this world. Compensation will be provided for your withdrawal. The third voice was different, cold and emotionless like a machine. We are the architects. The preserved biological data will be processed and integrated. Organic resistance is futile. Wu Jin looked at his small crew, then at the massive alien ships. This is Commander Kim Wu Jin of the Human Mining Expedition. This system is under human protection. We will not abandon our claim. The response was immediate. Energy weapons from all 3 ships lit up the sky, targeting the station's defenses. But the shots never reached their target. A shimmering barrier appeared around the station, deflecting the weapons' fire harmlessly into space. In the crystal caves below, Taemin felt the network awakening. He had made his choice the night before, joining his consciousness with Nira and the vast crystal matrix. The experience had been overwhelming. Suddenly he could see through thousands of crystal formations across the moon, feel the thoughts and memories of an entire civilization. The defense system is activating, Nira said, her voice now coming from inside his mind as well as outside, but it will take time to reach full strength. Taemin, now connected to the network, could sense the alien ships above. The spider-like hegemony forces were military through and through, seeking the terraforming knowledge to create weapons of planetary destruction. The gaseous beings of the Trader Guilds wanted to sell the crystal technology to the highest bidder, regardless of the consequences. And the architects, ancient machines that had outlived their creators, saw the crystal beings as obsolete technology to be absorbed and improved. Their landing troops, Sora reported from the station, all 3 factions. Through the crystal network, Taemin could see the landing parties spreading across the moon's surface. The hegemony deployed mechanical walkers and armed soldiers. The traders sent mining robots and extraction teams. The architects released swarms of small machines that began analyzing everything they touched. We need to get everyone to the crystal chambers, Taemin said through the station's communication system. His voice sounded different now, carrying harmonics that resonated with the crystal formations. Taemin, Sora's voice was worried. You sound strange. I'm fine. Better than fine. But we need to get underground now. As the crew made their way to the cave entrance, Taemin felt more crystals awakening across the moon. Each one that came online added to the defensive network and brought back another piece of the ancient civilization's knowledge. He could see their history now, understand their technology, feel their desperate hope that someone would continue their work. The alien landing parties reached the cave entrance just as the last human disappeared underground. But as they tried to follow, the caves themselves seemed to fight back. Passages shifted and sealed. Crystal formations erupted from the ground, blocking their path. The moon itself had become alive and hostile to the invaders. In the main crystal chamber, Taemin stood at the center of the network, his body glowing with the same light as the crystals around him. His crewmates watched in amazement and fear as he communicated with forces beyond their understanding. The network is at 30% capacity, he reported, but the aliens are adapting. The hegemony is using heavy drilling equipment to break through the cave seals. The traders are trying to hack into the crystal matrix directly, and the architects are analyzing the defense patterns. What do we do? Wu Jin asked. We wake up more of them. Taemin turned to face his commander, and Wu Jin could see that his engineer's eyes now held depths of knowledge that seemed ancient. But I'll need help. The network is too vast for one consciousness to handle alone. What kind of help? The crystals can interface with any human bioelectric field, but the connection is stronger with some people than others. Sora, Boyoung, Minho, you all have the right neural patterns. Sora stepped forward. What would happen to us? You would become bridges between human and crystal consciousness. You would gain access to their knowledge, but you would remain yourselves. And if we refuse? Taemin looked around at the crystal formations, feeling the vast loneliness of a dying civilization. Then this knowledge dies with them. The aliens will either steal it or destroy it, and humanity will remain trapped on a few worlds while others reshape the galaxy. One by one, his crewmates made their choice. Sora was first, placing her hand on a crystal formation and gasping as the connection formed. Minho followed, then Boyoung. Each connection made the network stronger, brought more crystals online, extended the defensive barriers around the moon. Above ground, the alien forces found themselves facing increasingly powerful resistance. Hegemony walkers were trapped in crystal growths that erupted from the ground. Trader mining equipment was shut down by energy pulses that overloaded their systems. Architect analysis swarms were absorbed into the crystal matrix and turned against their creators. But the aliens were persistent. Felthar ordered orbital bombardment of the crystal formations. Kess deployed virus programs designed to corrupt crystal networks. The architects began building larger machines immune to the defensive systems. They're not giving up, Hyunwoo reported from the station's sensors. If anything, they're getting more aggressive. Through the network, Taemin could feel the strain. The defensive systems were powerful, but they had been designed to protect against natural disasters and conventional attacks, not against 3 different types of advanced alien technology working together. There's something else, Nira said in his mind. The network contains more than just memories and defensive systems. It contains the locations of other preserved civilizations, scattered across the galaxy, worlds where other species tried to save themselves as we did. How many? Hundreds, maybe thousands, each one waiting for the right catalyst to awaken them. Taemin understood. The crystal network on Kythera 7 wasn't just a tomb or a treasure. It was a key, capable of awakening an entire galaxy of preserved civilizations. No wonder the aliens were so desperate to claim it. But that also meant the stakes were higher than anyone had realized. If the wrong forces gained control of the awakening technology, they could dominate the galaxy. If the knowledge was destroyed, countless civilizations would remain forever in their crystal sleep. The battle above ground was intensifying. All 3 alien factions had realized they were running out of time. Soon they would have to choose between negotiation and total war. In the crystal chamber, Taemin felt the weight of an entire galaxy's future, resting on the choices he and his crewmates would make in the next few hours. The crystal network reached full power just as the 3 alien fleets prepared for their final assault. Taemin, now fully integrated with the ancient consciousness, could feel every crystal formation across the moon humming with life and purpose. Through Nira and the network, he understood what his people had stumbled into. We are the Awakeners, Nira explained as energy flowed between the crystals. My people were not the first to preserve themselves this way. We learned the technique from an even older civilization, and we improved it. We scattered awakening nodes across the galaxy, hoping that someday, someone would find us and help us restore what was lost. Sora, now connected to her own crystal partner, gasped as the knowledge flowed into her mind. There are crystal networks on hundreds of worlds, all waiting for the right catalyst. What kind of catalyst? Minho asked. His consciousness expanded through his connection with a geologist crystal being. Chaotic life, Taemin replied, understanding flooding through him. Most intelligent species develop predictable patterns. They think in straight lines, follow logical progressions. But humans, we're different. Our thoughts are chaotic, creative, unpredictable. That chaos is what the crystal beings need to truly come alive again. Above ground, the 3 alien fleets had stopped fighting each other and focused their combined firepower on the crystal formations. But now the moon's defenses were at full strength. Energy barriers protected every crystal site. Defensive systems that had slept for millennia were awakening, turning the moon into an impregnable fortress. Humans. Velthar's voice crackled through the communication system. Your position is hopeless. Surrender the crystal technology and we will allow you to evacuate. Commander Wu Jin looked at his crew, now glowing with crystal light but still recognizably human. What's our status? The defensive grid is holding, Bo Young reported, her consciousness now linked to a communications specialist from the ancient civilization. But they're right about one thing. We can't stay here forever. Actually, we can, Taemin said, but that's not the point. Through the network, he could sense something the aliens couldn't. The energy being broadcast from Kythera 7 was reaching other worlds, other crystal networks. Ancient civilizations were beginning to stir across the galaxy, responding to the awakening signal. We need to make a choice, Nira said, her voice now coming from every crystal in the chamber. We can remain here, guardians of one world's knowledge, or we can do what we were meant to do, which is spread across the galaxy. Awaken the sleeping civilizations. Restore what was lost, Taemin understood. The crystal beings didn't want to be preserved museum pieces. They wanted to live again, to continue their work of shaping worlds and creating life. But they needed partners to do it. They needed the chaotic creativity that only humans seem to possess. There's something else, Sora said, her enhanced awareness picking up signals from space. More ships are coming. The energy signature from our awakening is drawing attention from across the galaxy. How many? Wu Jin asked. Dozens. Maybe hundreds. Some friendly, some hostile. Most just curious. The situation was about to become much more complicated, but Taemin felt a strange calm as he considered their options. Through the network, he could see possibilities that his merely human mind never could have imagined. Commander, he said, I need to talk to the alien fleets. Are you insane? They'll blast us the moment we open a channel. No, they won't. Because I'm going to offer them something they want more than our destruction. Minutes later, Wu Jin established communication with all three alien fleets. Taemin stepped forward, his form now shimmering with crystal light but still recognizably human. This is Taemin of the Human Crystal Alliance, he began. We know what you want. You want the terraforming technology. You want the stellar engineering knowledge. You want the secrets of life creation that the crystal beings possess. Then surrender them, Velthar demanded. I'm offering something better. Partnership. Explain, Kess said, always interested in a deal. The crystal beings are not databases to be looted. They are living consciousnesses with their own goals and desires. They want to return to their work of shaping worlds and creating life, but they need organic partners to do it. The biological data will be processed more efficiently through technological integration, the architect stated. Will it? Taemin asked. Your species are logical, predictable. You think in patterns that the crystal beings mastered long ago. Humans offer something different. Chaos, creativity, the ability to think in ways that even ancient civilizations never considered. He gestured to his crewmates, each one now glowing with their own crystal light. Look at what we've accomplished in just a few days. We've awakened a network that slept for millennia. We've formed connections that your species couldn't achieve in centuries of study. What are you proposing? Velthar asked, his tone shifting from demand to interest. Cooperation instead of conquest. The galaxy is vast. There are thousands of dead worlds that could be brought to life. Crystal networks waiting to be awakened. Enough for everyone, if we work together instead of fighting. Over the next several hours, as more alien ships arrived in the system, negotiations continued. The crystal beings, through their human partners, offered knowledge and technology in exchange for protection and cooperation. Different species would be assigned different worlds to develop, with crystal human teams providing the terraforming expertise. The hegemony would gain access to defensive technologies that could protect their military territories. The traders would have new worlds to develop and sell. Even the architects found the prospect of studying truly living crystal consciousness more appealing than simply harvesting dead technology. But it was the arrival of the preservation fleet that changed everything. These were species that had spent millennia searching for lost civilizations, dedicated to protecting and restoring what others had destroyed. We have been waiting for this day, their leader announced. The awakening protocols were planted across the galaxy for this purpose, to find species capable of true partnership with the preserved ones. As the fleet grew to include dozens of different species, Taemin realized that humanity had stumbled into something much larger than first contact. They had become part of a galactic community dedicated to restoration and renewal. The first human crystal colony ship left Kythera 7 6 months later. Taemin and Nira stood together on the observation deck watching the stars ahead. They were bound for a dead world in the Vega system, where another crystal network waited to be awakened. "Are you happy with your choice?" Nira asked. Her form was more solid now, sustained by their permanent connection. Taemin considered the question. He was no longer fully human, but he wasn't fully crystal either. He was something new, a bridge between two types of consciousness. Through their bond, he could access knowledge spanning millions of years. But he still felt human emotion, still cared about his original species. "I am," he said finally. "We've given both our peoples a future they never could have had alone." Behind them, the other human crew members worked alongside their crystal partners. Sora was designing atmospheric processors with her geologist partner. Minho was planning mining operations that would work with crystal networks instead of disturbing them. Boyoung was establishing communication protocols for the growing alliance of awakened civilizations. "What do you think we'll find at Vega?" Taemin asked. "Another sleeping civilization? Another chance to restore what was lost?" Nira smiled, an expression that somehow worked perfectly on her crystalline features. "And perhaps other species like yours, ready to become partners in creation instead of conquerors." As their ship jumped to hyperspace, Taemin felt the vast network of crystal consciousness across the galaxy stirring to life. Humanity had found its place among the stars not as conquerors or explorers, but as awakeners and partners. And in the cold depths of space, ancient civilizations that had slept for millennia began to dream of life again. The galaxy would never be the same. Where once there had been dead worlds and empty space, there would be gardens. Where once there had been silence, there would be the songs of awakened civilizations. And at the center of it all, humans and crystal beings would work together, their combined consciousness creating possibilities that neither could achieve alone. Taemin closed his eyes and felt Nira's presence in his mind, warm and eternal. She no longer needed to slip into his bedroll seeking warmth. They shared that warmth now, forever bound in a partnership that would reshape the galaxy.